Hello everyone, this is Kevin Mange and this is Kev's TV series. Well, now I have some good news. I finally found my papers. And with that being said, so when I get to this, where I last left off last week, can cut to right here, but I'm gonna pick up where I last left off about me taking the Pokeballs, spending summer in the night in a forest, sleeping in the forest. But allow me to explain that. But let's not explain it. Let's get to the point. But along the way, I may pause if you hear something different. So, let's get into it. After taking those Pokeballs, Kevin went somewhere else to spend the night, so Kevin went in the forest and find where Jesse and James were when they were in Alola. So Kevin slept there for the night. In the morning, Kevin woke up and used his Pokeballs to capture Beware and Stuffle. And when Marini and Mimikyu saw what happened, Kevin quickly used other Pokeballs to capture Marini and Mimikyu. Then one of the Pokeballs went to Team Rocket headquarters. Kevin said, "Nice. I may have caught Beware, Stuffle, Marini, and Mimikyu, but I'll leave one Pokeball, but I take the other Pokeballs So, you heard that correctly. That's the beginning right there, but continuing the process is where what's next. After that, just hold on one moment. Yep. Okay. I think I know where I might be at this point. I was just trying to make sure where I'm at. So, after understanding about the capture of the Pokemon, it would be like, so like I said, I caught Beware and Stuffle, like I said before, and Marini and Mimikyu, and with the other 3, you can only have 6 Pokemon in your team. Only 6 Pokemon in your team. So, I did start off with Beware and Stuffle, Mimikyu, Marini when I caught them, and then, well, from a long time ago when I explained what I explained, Litten, Poplio, and Rowlet. And that equals 7. And so the 6 I had is a 6 that I got. So, of the team that I have right now is first, from the Pokemon school was Rowlet, Litten, and Poplio. And then when I went to where I was sleeping at, yes. So what I did is, oh wait, where's my head at? Yeah, those 3 Pokemon, and then the next 4, that would be like Stuffle and Beware, Marini and Mimikyu, but one had to go. Marini and Mimikyu were the ones that stayed. So the one that had to go was either Stuffle or Beware. And the one that had to go was Beware. So I had Stuffle. So among the time of my Pokemon when they would evolve is when, well, they will evolve. And good thing too, because by the next Pokemon I catch, that will be the other Pokemon will head to the Team Rocket headquarters. Alright, so picking up where I last left off, time to head to Ula Ula. Around the time when Domino woke up, she was shocked to find that I was gone, so Domino felt responsible that I had gone off somewhere and better find Kevin, or else Giovanni might do something that Domino may leave Team Rocket, so Domino would find me. Kevin went to the beach, only to take Poplio, and told Poplio to help Kevin to get to Ula Ula Island. And how is that possible? Kevin said if somehow you evolve or put me in a bubble, it's possible. Poplio agreed and decided to make a bubble to bring me to Ula Ula. Poplio used all its might to make it possible and was successful just to evolve. Poplio became Brion, then successfully put me in the ocean. After achieving this feat, Brion began to evolve then became Primarina, then guided me to Ula Ula. Once arriving at Ula Ula, Kevin congratulated Primarina for evolving twice. Then Kevin returned Primarina to its Pokeball, then traveled Ula Ula to get to Po Town. Ooh, and you're wondering what Po Town is if you're wondering. Well, if you're a Pokemon fan of what Po Town is, I believe you understand where Po Town really is. And if why I would head to Po Town, well, not much spoilers here. Just wait for a minute. I will get there. But before Kevin could, Kevin visited a different altar, then paid respects. After paying respects, Solgaleo and Lunala showed and used their power to bring a Cosmog for me to have. Then I caught Cosmog. So if you're wondering when I last left off and of what's going on here, this is just the beginning part, and I left other papers at home, but they're not as much as in the epilogue. I'm telling you now of my epilogue, trying to get to where I'm getting at. But if you're wondering about Po Town, you might hear a little something that might be different. Anywho, it's time to move on. My name. I said because I would only like a Pokemon battle. Alima said, "Oh, is that it?" Kevin said, "Yes. If you and I have a Pokemon battle, then you can go back to where you were." Alima agreed, and I had my Pokemon battle. In the battle, I gave it everything I got, especially Mega Kangaskhan, and I won. Alima said, "Thanks for the battle." I said, "You're welcome." Alima was leaving, and I spoke up only for if Alima has something that I would have. Alima asked, "Like what?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. Maybe a Z crystal?" Alima responded, "So you only wanted a Z crystal?" Well, unfortunately, I only have one, and that's an Evium Z. "Do you have an Eevee?" Alima asked. I only lied. "I do have an Eevee." Alima said, "Then if you have an Eevee, this Evium Z is yours." I said, "Thank you." Alima then gave it to me. Then me and Guzma went to the Pokemon school. Now before continuing, of what you just heard from right there, so it's hard for me to interpret Alola for myself. So that's why I made an Alola story for myself. In order to understand Alola, and what my journey would be like in Alola, is why I made this Alola story because, well, I cannot know what Alola is since, well, it's not like a just one spot for a region just to be at. Alola has 4 islands. Not one spot, but 4 islands. Because of that is why I made this Alola story possible. So that's the point in making this Alola story. So that I could understand Alola in my head, should I actually have a journey in my head of how I can imagine Alola to myself, and there's no need to capture other Pokemon while I'm in Alola because that's kind of hard. Because of 4 islands, that's kind of hard to understand of where I'm at. So, what you heard correctly, first off, I started with Mele Island, as I do, with Domino from Team Rocket until I left Domino. And then I would head to Po Town. Now here comes the spoilers. Just to let Team Skull know that I'll be interested in joining Team Skull. And believe it or not, I think Team Skull is kind of a little misunderstood like I am. I know myself as misunderstood, so that's why I mentioned Po Town, and that's where Team Skull is. Because of Team Skull being misunderstood, this is what I get it because of Tup and Guzma. Tup was misunderstood because of why Mr. Pretty Boy, Alima, took what was Tup's girls. Tup had his girls, and he was a girl man. Had all the girls until Pretty Boy Alima took them away. And that wasn't nice. Taking away what's yours, not cool. As for Guzma, Guzma just wants to heck be Kukui when I found that in the anime. All Kukui wants to get is being stronger. So he outcasted himself just to be before Team Skull even came to be. So he never cared about Alola or its traditions or whatever. All Guzma just wants is power. Power enough so that he could get to beat the heck out of Kukui and rub it in his face just to get rid of the Pokemon League. But I kind of felt bad for him just because of why he wants to be Kukui, and Kukui, so that BAM! He can finally get his revenge, and he's avenged. I do feel bad for him because of why he hasn't beaten Kukui yet, but I think the power he has definitely has enough power to finally beat Kukui. That's all I care about. So, now since you understand that, and why I feel bad for our Team Skull. I just wanted them to know that I'm misunderstood, they're misunderstood of what I understand about what's going on with Guzma and Tup. I just understand them and what they're feeling. And I suspect every other Team Skull member has been misunderstood too. So why they became Team Skull in the first place is why they became Team Skull in the first place. It's not their fault for what they did before. In my defense for Team Skull, yes. So, by letting them understand that through me, I asked Guzma if he would go on a journey with me should he have Pokemon 2 that's out of the ordinary. So, right now, this is just a journey of me and Guzma before me and Guzma head to Galar. Or so, but before Galar, this could happen. After I'm done with the rest of what I'm gonna let you know of what else I spoke about, of what I'm also talking about, and to fill in the gap of why I lied and why I would want this EVMZ. Well, I just want to make it just like what the games were from Pokemon Sun, Pokemon Moon, Pokemon Ultra Sun, and Pokemon Ultra Moon combined. And what does Alola have that any other region doesn't? Well, Z crystals. So what else could I get? It's not like Alola has badges. They literally don't. Because of that is why I'm after Z crystals in order to get into the Pokemon League. So it's not like I'm stealing Z crystals. No. If I stole Z crystals, then I would be a thief. And would I want to be labeled as a thief? No. I just wanted to make it convincing so that I can have these Z crystals so that I can compete in the Pokemon League. And so that's possible. And believe it or not, just like in Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon, there's these things called captains, and that's what I did instead about not taking on kahunas. And so that's why I'm taking these Z crystals. Because believe it or not, you're about to hear things that I understand about what are the captains in Alola and why they have Z crystals. So these people of where I'm at Melee still is what I'm taking on and why I'll get Z crystals. Not like for my gain, but for why I would be interested in chunking the Pokemon League. Not like I would want to take on kahunas, no. That's just to the anime. Only the anime, and I refuse to believe that I would want to challenge the kahunas. Otherwise, this may be a different story with the kahunas. So that's why I put all my effort to making this and how I would get these Z crystals. So if you're hearing me correctly, it's to fill in the gaps of what I left out. So I may have left other papers behind, but they're not as what is important of what I'm getting at right here. So what's next important is letting you know that why I'm getting these Z crystals. And now since you understand why I'm getting these Z crystals, it's time to continue this process. So, if you're hearing my journey correctly, I'm on a journey with Guzma, and after what Guzma understands of why I misunderstood, and why Guzma's misunderstood because of why he wants to take on Kukui, is why I would want to be on a journey with Guzma after being at Po Town, talk to Team Skull about why I'm interested in Team Skull, being a member of Team Skull, so I'm far from traveling with Domino for right now. So it's just, for right now, me with Guzma, and see where this leads to. Alright, now since you're all caught up to speed on that, it's time to continue with this story. At the Pokemon school, I asked Guzma to haul a Kukui. Guzma said, sure. Come down, Kukui. Come down here. Kukui looked out the window and saw Guzma. Kukui asked in his head, what's Guzma doing here? Kukui then said, hold on, class. It seems I got business with Guzma. Here, I'll be a minute. The four of them said, yes. And I said, good. So where I left off from here, but you understand from what you heard from right here, this was really important because I wanted Kukui to be hollered at. And when Kukui would bring down himself, wondered why Guzman was around, I told Kukui of why Guzma hollered just to get him to bring down the four people. That would be Mallow, Lana, Sophocles, and Kiawe. So those are the four that I mentioned. Those four. So those four said yes, and I said good. Let's do this. I sent out Primarina, Litten, Rowlet, Cosmog, while Lana, Mallow, Kiawe, and Sophocles went with Primarina, Serena, not a burp. Burp is not a Pokemon name. Togedemaru, Togedemaru, and Turtonator. Kukui was the ref. Said the rules to the Pokemon battle, then it began. Of how I managed to beat them, my Cosmog kept on teleporting, and that agitated Togedemaru. Then Cosmog felt an urge to make an attack, and in order to do so, Cosmog evolved. It became Cosmoem and used Photon Geyser to take out Togedemaru. Kukui was shocked, even Sophocles as well. Kukui said, "Didn't Cosmoem just learn the move Photon Geyser?" Sophocles said yes. Cosmoem did use the move Photon Geyser. Kukui asked, "Then what other Pokemon knows the move Photon Geyser?" Sophocles replied, "I don't know." Primarina took down Turtonator with ease, being a water and fairy type, and Turtonator a fire and dragon type. Disadvantage: Rowlet having the advantage against Primarina, the disadvantage used Ice Beam till it lands on Rowlet, and when it did, Rowlet was frozen, so I ordered Cosmoem to use Photon Geyser on Primarina, taking it down. Serena was using stomps and trop kicks to take down Litten, and Litten didn't let on, and the moment when Serena used a stomp on the head, Litten took it, then evolved. Litten became Torracat and used Flamethrower to take down Serena. After that, Rowlet evolved in the ice, became Dartrix, and used Solar Beam right when Primarina was recovering. Lana said, "Primarina, that was Solar Beam." So that means Lana looked behind her and saw Dartrix. Lana replied, "I see." So Rowlet evolved and needed to defeat Primarina. Kukui called it official. Lana's, Mallow's, and Sophocles' and Kiawe's are unable to battle. Kevin's Pokemon wins. Kiawe said this to me: "Your Pokemon are powerful, and you made it so without using a Z move." Kevin said, "Yes, I did." Kiawe replied, "Your Pokemon are so powerful that you don't need a Z crystal." Kevin said, "I do need Z crystals? Look, I earned this after I faced Lima." Sophocles, Lana, and Mallow said, "You battled the Lima and got this EVM Z?" Sophocles replied, "I think you don't have an Eevee." I said, "Nope. But I would like to have Z crystals after a well-fought battle. Don't you think I should have your Z crystals after this epic battle?" I think definitely earned your Z crystals after how epic this was. Lana, Mallow, Sophocles, and Kiawe agreed and gave me their Z crystals. Kiawe said, "Here's your Fire Z." I responded, "Thanks, Kiawe." Lana said, "Here's your Primarium for your Primarina. I responded, thanks, Lana. Mallow said, here's your Grassy MZ for your Dartrix. I responded, thanks, Mallow. And Sophocles said, here's your Buggy MZ, even though I doubt you have a bug type. I responded, I don't, but thank you. Anyway, Lana, Mallow, Sophocles, and Kiawe said together, you're welcome. Kukuri said, that was one heck of a Pokemon battle. Your Rowlet evolving and that ice really got to me, and especially your Cosmoem learning Rotom Geyser really got me heated. When I saw it, you really got some powerful Pokemon, Kev. I said, thank you, and I think I should be going. Kukui said, good luck in the rest of your journey. Kevin said, I will. And then I continued with Guzma to Hau'oli City. As Kevin and Guzma left, and Kevin said, bye. So Guzma and Kevin followed Mina and her Rabombi, where I would have my battle. We will have our battle here where there will be traffic, but not in the road. So what street Pokemon would you have facing? Kevin said, I was thinking what Pokemon you would have, so I picked this Marini. Mina said, then let's begin this battle. Guzma spoke up, not without a referee. You're not, so Guzma became the ref, said those battle conditions, then said, trainers, ready your Pokemon. Rabombi was ready. Then I brought out Marini. Marini was ready. Guzma said, battle begin. By understanding Rabombi, it's a bug and fairy type, and by having the fairy typing, its weakness is poison types. So Marini was easily defeating. That got me the win. And Mina said, looks like you will easily get the Z Crystal. Follow me, and you will have the Z Crystal. So me and Guzma followed Mina to where that Z Crystal is. Mina got at Seafolk Village. Mina got me and Guzma across the ocean to Pony Island at Seafolk Village and brought me to her boathouse where Mina lives. Mina got her Z Crystal and gave it to me. Mina said, this is a Fairyum Z. You can use it for fairy types. If you come across a dragon type, use it. I said I will. Thank you. Mina smiled. As I left the boathouse, I then said to Guzma, both of us are on Pony Island. And remember, when I said that I wanted to take on captains to a Pokemon battle, Guzma said, yes, you did. Then I said, after that, well, it just so happens, since we're on Pony Island, there's just a certain something I would like to do while we're here. I would like to go to Vast Pony Canyon. Guzma asked, what's that Vast Pony Canyon? I said, a totem Pokemon. I just want to face it and catch another Pokemon. Maybe. And then I'll go back and face the last two captains to a Pokemon battle. What do you think? Guzma then said, then let's go to Vast Pony Canyon. I said, let's. So me and Guzma went to Vast Pony Canyon. Okay, so I'm going to take a break right here because of why I would want to take on a totem Pokemon. Well, because of the games, there is no set actual captain in Vast Pony Canyon, to be honest. Because of that, is why I would aim for a totem Pokemon at Vast Pony Canyon in Pony Island. So, after I would be done with the totem Pokemon, I would then head back and take it on the captains yet again. And you heard me correctly. There are two left. There's Acerola and Moraine. Yep. So, now I'm moving along. I just got 3 things left to talk about, and then this will be the end of all of this. So, time to continue. Me and Guzma made their way to Vast Pony Canyon, entered it, and seen a lot of Pokemon along the way. When we reached our destination, Kevin yelled, Hakamo'os! Jangmo'os! Komo'o! I'm here to take you on! They all responded and showed themselves. I brought out Primarina, and then it was an all-out frenzy with Primarina, taking them all out, and all is left is Totem Komo'o. Komo'o then attacked. Then I used the Ferium Z to defeat it. After Komo'o was defeated, I helped it get back up, and with that kind gesture, Komo'o gave me a Z crystal, a Dragonium Z. I said thank you. Then one of the Jangmo-Os came up to me wanting to be one of Pokemon. One of my Pokemon. I said to it, thanks, but no thanks. But that doesn't mean I can still have a dragon type. I then took out an empty Pokeball and threw it at a Hakamo-o. It was a success and I caught myself a Hakamo-o. Kevin said, this is what I came for. I then looked at Komo-o and said, thank you for the battle. Then Komo-o, Jangmo-o, and Hakamo-o left, and me and Guzma did the same thing, leaving the way we came in. After leaving Raspberry Canyon, me and Guzma stole a boat so that's what we did. We stole a boat to get back to Ula Ula Island just to face off the next two captains. That would be a Alola, then Moraine. So I left Moraine last because this is on anime's perspective on how I would take this journey. Until I finished off the last captain. So that's what happened right there. So with it being 6 Pokemon, the 6 I now have is a Dawnwings Lunala, Decidueye, and Cinnowar, Hakamo-o, Marini, and Mimikyu. So that means along the way of what's possible, Stuffle left, along the way in the journey, and then it was Primarina, so that's why we took a boat instead. So now since we got that, it's time to get to the next Pokemon battle. And believe it or not, that would be Acerola, keeping it anime. Guzma refereed. Rules: 2 Pokemon only. Battle over when either side's Pokemon is unable to continue. Guzma spoke, trainers, your Pokemon. Acerola sends out Mimikins and Rapu. If you're wondering what Rapu is Gengar. It was just nicknamed Greedy Rapu. And Kevin sends out Dartrix and Cosmoem. Cosmoem, sizing up the battle, evolves, and with learning Photon Geyser, it becomes Dawn Wings Lunala. Dartrix is taking on Rapu, and Dawn Wings Lunala is on Mimikins in the air, while also in the process, Dartrix evolves to Decidueye, taking down Rapu. And Dawn Wings Lunala easily took down Mimikins. And if you're wondering what a Mimikins is, it's another Mimikyu. Guzma said the battle between Lunala and Decidueye and Mimikins and Rapu is over. Kevin wins. Nanu came over to see the ruckus and couldn't believe his eyes. "No way," said Nanu. And when the battle was over, Nanu said, "Congratulations. You won the Pokemon battle, and with a legendary Pokemon, no less." And Acerola said, "And with that, you earned a Z Crystal." So Acerola went in the library and got the Ghostinium Z, came out and gave me the Ghostinium Z. Kevin said, "Nice. Just one more Z Crystal to go." Acerola said, "You have just one more Z Crystal to get?" Kevin said, "Yes, I do." Acerola responds, "What's that Z Crystal?" I said, "It's the Stellium Z." Acerola questions the Stellium Z. I said, "Yes, the Stellium Z is in the hold of Mo. Mo/Moraine for your information. He's in the Hukalani Observatory. Me and Guzma can head there," Nanu says. "And how are you going to get there?" Kevin says, "By walking?" Nanu responds, "You're not going by walking. What if something happens to you? It's better to take a ride Pokemon on where you're going. Better to take a ride Mudsdale. A Mudsdale will help you to get you where you're going." Besides, take a look at these and you'll see why I want a Pokemon battle facing ya. Oh. So, where I'm at right here, I did take the Mudsdale, and that Mudsdale helps me to get to my destination at the Hukalani Observatory. And we took the Executor Express after where I left off with Mudsdale, getting to the Hukalani Observatory. So, me and Guzman left Mudsdale. We then walked our way to the Executor Express, and then we made it to the Hukalani Observatory. So I had to make sure that Mullane would come out and see what was going on. And if you're wanting to know what's going on, wait until you hear what Mo was understanding of what he heard. Besides, look at these, and you'll see why I want a Pokemon battle facing ya. Mo's still wondering what he heard and sees my Z crystals, and says, what do these Z crystals have to do what you already heard? I said, that's just nothing. Can I still have a Pokemon battle? Mo says, all you just want is a Pokemon battle, and after what I just heard, and all you're gonna get is a Pokemon battle. Go, Magneton! I guess you're raring to go. In that case, Torracat! And Guzma got into for referee. The battle had already started without a battle begin from Guzma. Magneton was using its electric type moves while Torracat was dodging them. Then Torracat was continuing to dodge, and Mullane said, you can't always keep dodging. I'm afraid you can't beat Magneton. Torracat needs to find a way to land an attack. Frustrated, Torracat was ordered to evolve, and once it did, it used the move Fire Spin, and used the Fire Spin to finally attack, and used Darkest Lariat to bring down Magneton and end up in the Spin of Fire defeated. Mullane was like, Magneton! And Guzma was like, Magneton is unable to battle, and Cinnamore wins. Mullane's like, you think this is an actual battle? I say me, Kevin Mange, says it is Mullane. Mullane says It is? I said yes. Mind giving me the Stellium Z? Mulaney's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, if you don't know, then would you at least give me the Stellium Z for how much you thought it was a Pokemon battle with me being here and face me from what you thought before? Mulaney was like, fair enough. I understand your reasoning. So Mulaney went into the observatory, found where the Stellium Z is, found it, and then came out of the observatory and gave it to me and said, hey, I'm sorry. I thought I heard noises and I thought it was you. My bad. Kevin said, I can forgive you. Thanks, Mulaney. Mulaney said, you're welcome. So Kevin has all Z crystals. All right, so that's how I'm leaving it off. Because, well, that's how I took my journey. Right then and there. Of my Pokemon battles and everything I mentioned in the process. But to be honest, I don't know how this ends exactly, actually. So, I'm actually going to take my work, bring it to my friend Peter early, and see if he can help me finishing this story. Because, well, I don't know how this ends. I just want you to understand how my journey works. So, I started off with Melee Melee. Then I went to Pony Island. Then back to Ula Ula. So Akala, according to the anime, never has captains, which is kind of a bummer. And the only captains I can see was what I mentioned. So my journey was like Melee Melee, Pony Island. Actually, Melee Melee, Ula Ula, Pony Island, then back to Ula Ula one more time for Acerola and Mo. So now since you understand my journey, of how it goes, that's how I'm going to leave it as, just to understand that I didn't want to face captains, not kahunas, so that I can compete in the Pokemon League. And now it's time to reference the Pokemon League. So, for Alola, for their Pokemon League, the Pokemon League is at the Manalo Stadium. And where the Manalo Stadium is, that's like close to Aether Paradise. I could talk about the Pokemon League, but I don't think that's really important. So as soon as I finished off with Mo, I don't know when there will be another Pokemon League. But when there will be, that is when I'll go to the Pokemon League for the next Pokemon League that will be there. So, like I have to wait, I guess. So that's what I did. And while we do so, continuing with this, thought process, I continued having my journey with Guzma from Team Skull so that Guzma would get his Pokemon. He only has a Scizor and a Golisopod. I don't know what other bug types he might have, but I don't know. But if this is game referenced, I hope it's game referenced, but if not, Guzma would have to find other bug Pokemon in Alola, because Guzma is about the bug Pokemon and that's it. So, that goes for Guzma, for continuing for the journey, so that Guzma could catch bug Pokemon. And then, after he does, me and Guzma would head right back to Po Town to Team Skull. And we would continue until we have word from a TV about if there was going to be a Pokemon League. So that about wraps things up with Alola. Perfect. Alola is now complete. So now since you understand all of that, it's time to finally get to what's next, finally. And what will be next is what I'll mention, what will be next, and then I'll talk about my Galar journey. But in a future record, it'll be me and Guzma heading to Kanto in a journey. Like that. So, in Alola, it's just me and Guzma in a journey together, heading to Kanto, and that's where I'm going to leave off from now. When I come back, it would be something personal, but also finally Galar. So, that's where I'm going to leave it off, and I'll see you all later.